WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I'm in Austria. I'm in Austria by the Broger, B-R-O-G-E-R, and it's a triple cask. Now I have a whiskey Jason fan in Austria, and he sent me originally the Burnout from Broger, and it says here, heavily peated malt whiskey. Now, if he had been a longtime fan, he would have known I don't like peat, or I don't like heavily peated whiskeys. Then he also sent me the medium smoked, which is actually just a smoked single malt whiskey. Jim Murray in his whiskey Bible gave this 95 points, a super whiskey, amazing. He gave this a 94 in his whiskey Bible, which is unbelievable. And over here we have the triple cask, which was actually in a new oak barrel / bourbon barrel. I have two different sources that say two different things. Now we all know that, let's call it an oak barrel. It could have been either a new oak or it could have been a bourbon oak. I don't know. It was also in a sherry cask, and it was also in a Madeira cask. And that's very, very interesting. 42%. This little bugger here costs €6, which is about $7. The 0.35 costs 29 euros, 30 some. And the 0.7 is 56, which is around $62 at the moment. So 1993, Eugen, or Eugene, as we say in America, but over here we say Eugen, and Bruno, I love the name Bruno, Bruno Bruga, that's a great Austrian name. They actually took over the company from their father Walter, and 2008 they started making whiskey in Austria. So the very important thing about the Broger is you need to be a family member before you actually can become an employee. It's all family owned and operated. Now, the little piece of paper that I got here is actually a description of the AWA. You've never heard of the AWA? Well, neither had I before this. This is the Austrian Whisky Association. So we know the Scotch Whisky Association, which always sues everyone if there's a Glen in the name. And this is actually a association in Austria where 14 of the major whiskey producers came together and founded their own association to make sure that they have a good publicity as well as certain standards that they themselves want to adhere to. 42%, whiskey base number 58. I'm going to say 900. And as I said, this was a gift from one of my fans. His name is Werner, so thank you very much for that. On the nose. Complex. I like that. I do get the Madeira. It's a sweet Madeira mixed in with a type of sherry. I'm going to go for more the Orlolozo sherry, not the Pedro Jimenez, the PX. And then actually there's a little bit of a very fresh wood moment. Tannins, green wood come out. So I'm guessing it actually, I'm going to believe the company, Broger, more than I'm going to believe my whiskey database that says bourbon. And so I think it's actually new oak barrels that are used here. Now, if I didn't know any better, I would have said this is a German whiskey from the distillery called Glen Els. Glen, G-L-E-N, and then E-L-S. How Glen Els actually got to keep the Glen in there, I'm not really sure, but they had an agreement with the Scotch Whisky Association, and somehow they were able to continue producing underneath that, with that name. It's a little bit of butterscotch, but it's a butterscotch that has been mixed up with some type of jam, some type of raspberry, blackberry jam. And that woodiness, that new fresh green wood really shines through, which is a shame because that's what I don't like. One of the things I get is I'm not really sure what type of single malt whiskey they used. Single malt they used. You can take different grain types and you can also take different roasting levels. And I have the feeling that they went more for a Cara malt, which is more of a caramel malt. They might have went for the chocolate malt, which is a darker malt. And they might actually went for the Munich malt, which is actually a little bit even more. And if you take a look at the grain, usually the grain when you do this, you come out of it's very, very beige. It's a little, almost tan color. But if you leave it in there and you actually roast it just like a bean, like a coffee bean a little bit longer, it turns almost black. And I have the feeling that there was a certain portion of this heavily toasted malt grain included in the distillation process. Good. Let's try it. Fairly smooth for 42%. There is a little bit of bite at the end. The alcohol does come through. That green wood moment comes more and more. That tannin, that espresso taste, which I'm not a great fan of either. The sherryness and the Madeira casks are actually evident, and that's what takes over towards the end. So it comes in very, very nicely. Gets a little fruity, gets a little alcoholic, gets a little tannin in there. And then it's like, okay, look, yes, yeah. The fruitiness actually carries through towards the end, and that's the taste you actually have, and it remains in your mouth. But there's a tiny little moment like, is the bad cask gonna win? And then no, it actually the sherry and the Madeira take over and for the win. Yeah. So what am I going to give this as a grade? I kind of want to give it a C minus. Now this was a gift, and the guy gave me this and this and this, and so I'm going to actually, it's borderline C minus. All right, that's very honest opinion. Value for money, €6 for this is not the worst price I've seen. 56 euros for that bottle for a 0.7 is actually for a continental whiskey, a new word I like to use more and more. Whiskey made not in Scotland or Ireland, whiskey made in Denmark, in Switzerland, in Austria, in Germany, in France, and so on. Continental whiskey, that is actually a very decent price because remember, they're filling maybe 2 casks a week. Literally, if at all that. And so very, very, very small batches, very, very small production rates, and everything is handmade. If you watch a video on their website, you'll actually see one of the daughters place all the labels and all the bottles. And so this has been only done, no machines or very little machines at all added except for the distilling process. Is a pot still a machine? It's an apparatus. I don't know. All right, so, but it's all done and handcrafted is what they could say, and it's very, very nice. So, value for money, I'm going to actually give it more of a C minus. Value for money, C minus, and the taste is more of a C. Yeah. Once again, WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, tasting rare and exotic whiskeys, and probably you'll never ever see this. I haven't even seen it in Germany, to be honest. Luckily, I have an Austrian fan that sent it to me. Yeah, so my question of the day is, what is your favorite continental whiskey? Now, some of you are going to say Stauning from Denmark, which I would not disagree with. Some of you are going to say maybe, I like Stork Rye whiskey here from Germany. Others of you are going to say maybe something from France or maybe something from Lagertun from Switzerland. If you've watched my channel, if you watch my videos, you've seen a lot of continental whiskeys, more than any other channel out there in English, I think, produces. And so what is your favorite continental whiskey? If you haven't tried a continental whiskey, YouTube/Google loves it when you comment. Say, sorry, Jason, never had a continental whiskey. Perfect answer. I like that as well. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, my videos come out. Please like, please subscribe, and please tell the others about this crazy guy over in Europe tasting stuff you'll probably never ever see. So sorry. All the best. WhiskyJason here. Bye-bye.